Oh man, RFK. Those seed oils, get them out of here. I can't stand that stuff. Gotta ban it. Those food dyes, we gotta ban those too. That Atlantic salmon, we gotta ban that. Oh, RFK. So if you pay attention to RFK Jr., you probably know that his mission is to make America healthy again. Now, I don't really share my own personal opinions in these type of videos, but I will say I don't like seed oils. I really, really don't. Anytime I eat something with seed oils, chances are I'm going to get pretty bad acne afterwards. I'm not hardcore enough to use beef tallow or lard, but I use olive oil and butter. It's pretty good stuff. But what about RFK Sir? Well, RFK Sir is also very interesting. He wanted to run for president in 1968, and very infamously so, he got assassinated. Would he have won the nomination? Well, the Kennedy name is pretty strong, so there's a pretty good chance he would have won the nomination. Would he have beat Richard Nixon? Also, all the Kennedys are so charismatic. There's a name recognition, there's a JFK sympathy thing. But also in 1968, it's a pretty crazy time. You got the assassination of MLK. You got the Vietnam War still lagging on. It's very crazy, and the Vietnam War is seen as a Democratic Party war. So, the Democratic Party, not too popular in 1968. But anyway, I'm going to show you how to load up the mods because people have been asking. You go to mod loader down here, and look at all these mods. Look at them. There's so many you could do. I mean, we can do, Taylor Swift 2028. Why not? Oh, man. But we're going to do RFK. So you type in RFK 1968. We're going to load that up. Click here to begin. And let's do it. After Johnson's 1964 landslide, his presidency quickly went downhill after the escalation of the Vietnam War. Now he has declared he will not be running for re-election, and 3 candidates with opposing views hope to take his spot in the year 1968. After a year of chaos where social unrest is at its height, the Vietnam War divides the nation, and the Great Society is under attack. Kennedy runs as the anti-war candidate and will need the balance appealing to his base and hawks in his party, while Nixon attempts to present himself as the law and order candidate who will bear the standard of republicanism, and Wallace hopes to bring an end to desegregation. So, yeah, we're going to have to go against Nixon and Wallace. It's going to be very interesting. One thing we got to keep in mind is that the map is going to be pretty limited. After the Civil Rights Act is signed, Democrats aren't going to really be overly competitive in the South. Jimmy Carter's going to sweep the South, but that's only because he's from the South, so it's kind of a big deal. Bill Clinton wins a couple states because, again, he's from the South. But guys like John Kerry, Michael Dukakis, they're not going to win any Southern states. They're limited geographically. And it really wasn't until, I'd say Joe Biden, honestly. I guess you can kind of say Obama as well. But Obama, African-American, so he's going to get more, support in the South. But I'd say more so Joe Biden's really the one who kind of, he won Georgia, he won Virginia. So it kind of changed the map a little bit, but now the Democrats are back to doing pretty crap in the South. Anyway, let's read about RFK. RFK is the brother of the late President John F. Kennedy and a senator from New York. In the past, he served as Attorney General under both his brother and Lyndon Johnson for many years, but soon resigned in part because of his rocky relationship with Johnson. He's now been long discussed as a potential presidential candidate for 1968, but he has repeatedly said he would not run against Johnson in a primary. But now that Johnson has decided not to run for re-election because of his massive unpopularity, Kennedy seized the opportunity to clinch the nomination with no problems. Well, except for the fact that he was nearly assassinated. Oh my goodness, alternate timeline. Luckily, he survived. Kennedy is fighting a war on many fronts this election, as he must energize his liberal base while keeping the Johnson wing of the party in line, head off Wallace's efforts to deadlock the election, and still somehow defeat Nixon, who Kennedy is trailing in the polls. Oh my God, who would vote for Richard Nixon? Continue. All right, so running mate. This is where it's going to get really, really interesting because do I want to go with the Southerner? I don't know. So we'll weigh all our options. So first we have Terry Sanford's, so former governor of North Carolina. Even though he's from the South, he's liberal on many issues such as education and civil rights. He has been an early supporter of your brother's campaign in 1960. Okay, so he's loyal. All right. By going with Sanford, Kennedy would be writing off most of the South, apart from Sanford's home state of North Carolina. Sanford is one of the main people expected to be your running mate. All right, so it seems like this mod wants Sanford to be my running mate. The thing is, like, we're going to be pretty uncompetitive in the South. Hubert Humphrey wins Texas, but realistically, the only reason he wins Texas is because of a little bit of LBJ and Wallace splitting the votes. So maybe this Terry Sanford guy could be pretty good. We got Ralph Yarborough, ironically enough, from Texas. I really don't think we're going to win Texas. He's a senator from the progressive wing of the party. He's pro-civil rights. And basically he's like, one of LBJ's kind of lapdogs. I don't think it's going to work, though. I really don't. We got Stuart Symington from Missouri. It's a swing state. So he's a respected senator from Missouri. Has been somewhat of an ally to you. Right. He was discussed as a running mate, and he has served as first Secretary of the Air Force under Truman and is an outspoken critic of McCarthyism in the 1950s, which makes him appealing to your liberal base. He will definitely help you in his home state of Missouri, which is crucial for you if you want to win. But he is unpopular in the Deep South and could hurt you in the region. But we're not going to win in the Deep South. So Symington could be good. William Proxmire is a senator from Wisconsin. Could help his party make a play for his home state, which seems to favor Nixon in the polls and is a must-win for you. Oh, man. Proxmire won his seat in the Senate in a special election following the death of Joseph McCarthy. Speaking of McCarthy, Proxmire once called him a disgrace to Wisconsin. Proxmire checks off all the boxes when it comes to being a liberal and an anti-war Democrat. He is a strong critic of Johnson's handling of the Vietnam War and has been an advocate for your campaign finance reform. Interesting. However, he has also fought against wasteful government spending. Oh, man. And even found numerous instances of wasteful spending on the military programs such as the C-5 aircraft and the F-16 fighter while serving on the Joint Economic Committee. Interesting. And we got Al Gore, and it says choose any other VPs for it to work. So Al Gore, can't pick him. So we got a couple interesting choices here. Terry Sanford, he's loyal from North Carolina. North Carolina is not out of the picture. I don't think we're going to win Texas. Missouri is a swing state. So Symington could also be good. And Proxmire. I think we're going to go with Sanford. We're going to go with him. And let's do this. All right. After Eugene McCarthy does surprisingly well in the New Hampshire primary, likely due to the Tet offensive, it becomes clear that Lyndon Johnson's grip on the Democratic Party seems to be weakening, even though McCarthy lost the primary. Because of this, you announce your candidacy for president, but you get lots of backlash from McCarthy and his supporters who label you as an opportunist. What do you have to say about this? How dare you, Eugene McCarthy? Oh, my God. All right, so the idea of me being an opportunist is absurd for all of them. So, but I don't really need to address this and bring unneeded attention to this. That's kind of a weak response. I will give a speech where I break down why these claims are complete nonsense, but if McCarthy really wants to go in attack mode, we'll do the same. Everyone talks about McCarthy's anti-war stance in Vietnam, but has anyone ever looked at his civil rights record? He voted against getting rid of the poll tax in the Civil Rights Act of 1965. That may be going a little bit too far. But we definitely got to mention it. So I'd say, RFK, he's a very good speaker. I mean, he's a Kennedy. He's charismatic. People like it when a Kennedy talks. So we'll give a speech. Why not? As always, people love hearing your speeches, and it works out in your favor, since that people didn't really listen to McCarthy's attacks and instead focused on your oratorical talents. Just be prepared if the Republicans try to use these tactics against you in a general election. Oh, man. And Lyndon Johnson has announced that he will not be seeking re-election after the New Hampshire primary. He also came to the realization he couldn't win the nomination without a fight. Is losing popularity because of Vietnam and is also in decline health. How do you feel about this? Good riddance. Get him out of here. Hey, LBJ, how many babies did you kill today? Oh, that's just terrible. Because of this announcement, the New Deal coalition breaks into factions who support you. McCarthy and Hubert Humphrey, who has just entered the race. Johnson will now support Humphrey indirectly, and a few of Johnson and Humphrey's surrogates will also enter the race. So yeah, LBJ is going to pour everything behind his vice president, and Hubert Humphrey just barely loses the election. And here's the map, and oh my god, this map is really, really red. Oh wow. So, he's landsliding us right now. So, New York is a must-win. We got Pennsylvania, just barely, though. We got Minnesota. We're not going to win Texas. But, yeah, Illinois, believe it or not, back then, had more electoral votes than Texas. And I think we have a real chance of winning there. California, I think, is going to be a must-win as well. We're going to have to chip away at that. But we're going to basically have to try to emulate... we can't even emulate the Jimmy Carter map because, Wallace is going to take the South. So our path to victory is going to be pretty difficult with Wallace kind of taking the South. We kind of had to break westward a little bit. So we're going to have to take, some of these big states like Illinois, Missouri, we're going to need. North Carolina could maybe try to get, but the Deep South, we have no chance. California, I think we can, if we play this right, we can definitely try and get California. We're even losing West Virginia. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so we'll start this off in Illinois. And we only got one option. In the past, you've wiretapped it's a gotcha question, great. Civil rights leader Martin Luther King, and some people are worried about this. What do you have to say about this? This was a big mistake, and I'm sorry for doing this in the past. I now realize what I did wasn't correct, and even after Dr. King's assassination, I regret my actions. It's not like this will cause a major controversy or anything, since most people believe you are sincere in these apologies. Just be prepared to be hurt in the polls a little bit. So that's one thing that's kind of interesting. You got to keep in mind, before the Vietnam War, Americans generally trusted politicians back then. I know it sounds absolutely outlandish, but yeah, politicians were to be trusted. But after the Vietnam War, that's where Americans were just like, well, my government, we're not exactly the good guys right now, are we? There was always this kind of stigma where America was always the good guys no matter what. And it still kind of lives on today. But the 60s is really, really where this started to transition away. And you got America kind of on the losing end of a very unpopular conflict. It's just not a good look. Breaking news. Martin Luther King Jr. has been assassinated at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. How will you address this tragic event 19 days into your campaign? Well, obviously, it's a national tragedy. Ugh. So I will make a call to Mrs. King offering my condolences. Dr. King was an American hero, and I'm proud of him for his efforts to desegregate schools and businesses. I'm saddened by his demise, and the continuing poverty of black people is a sobering reminder that there is much work to be done. I will put out a public statement criticizing King's assassination. I don't condone any violence, but I'm not going to do that given who he was as a person. He bamboozled. What is this? Oh my God. And of course he's a communist. Obviously he is. Let's give a major speech where I share the news about King's assassination to my supporters, mainly those in the black community. Okay, this seems like it's just an opportunist question. I want to address the demise of an African-American hero while also emphasizing the importance of continuing Dr. King's legacy. So we're just going to go with the first one. This one seems like it's in bad taste. Many people feel this is an appropriate thing to do after a tragic event like this. Mrs. King also appreciates your condolences and kind words about her husband. All right. That actually made us lose Pennsylvania. So in terms of civil rights, they are moderate. So I guess that's too much fawning praise. But if I come out as a racist, I'm just going to lose the election. Doing a little bit better in Illinois. California slipping away a little bit. Yeah, so we're But we're at 96, so we've taken him down a couple notches. We're gaining in North Carolina, so that's important. But we definitely want to go back to Pennsylvania. We don't want to lose Pennsylvania. And we only got one answer. You gave a speech in Los Angeles after you won the California primary when your speech was over. You walked off stage and heard gunshots. Before you could comprehend what happened, you were pushed onto the ground by someone. After a few seconds that felt like hours, you heard someone say, "We've got the gun!" And immediately the person who pushed you helps you get up from the ground. Later, you learned that you were nearly shot, but after the quick actions of a passing bystander and the shooter's bad aim may have saved your life. I really need to hire more security guards. Good idea. Anyways, you later win the Democratic nomination after tough fights from Hubert Humphrey and Eugene McCarthy. The unit rule being abolished may have also helped you. All right, I hope that's going to help me in the polls. After a long fight with Eugene McCarthy and Hubert Humphrey for the nomination, your near assassination in Los Angeles, the war raging on in Vietnam, and a large amount of social unrest and racial tension going on after Martin Luther King's assassination, what will you say in your acceptance speech for the Democratic nomination? So we got to really check what these states are feeling. So Illinois it's a moderate state in terms of just everything except for economics. Pennsylvania, again, it's a moderate except for the Great Society and economics. So what this is kind of telling me is that we have to, still support the Great Society and be economically on the left. But in terms of civil rights, surprisingly enough, in states like California and Pennsylvania, Illinois, we have to be a moderate. That is quite interesting. North Carolina, again, is going to be a lot more conservative. West Virginia. So yeah, a lot of these states, we're going to have to play the moderate game here. Sometimes when you lean too much into civil rights, like what I did with Richard Nixon in 1960, it cost me that election. So what are we going to say? So I think it's important that I de-emphasize the political aspect of this campaign. Let's instead talk about preserving the Kennedy legacy. What the heck? No, there's real issues going on. I will obviously touch on Vietnam and the racial unrest in the streets during my convention speech. I think it's also important that I appeal to labor and everyday Americans by mentioning how we need to defend the Great Society, defend our social programs, and defend labor unions. That is a perfect answer. In my speech, I think it's important that I address the two big elephants in the room, which are Vietnam and the unrest we're seeing in the streets. I mean, that's also very important, but you got to keep in mind, when it comes to working people, wars, people do care, but it's not the end-all, be-all, and, the racial unrest, again, is a big issue, but when it comes down to it, it's putting bread on the table. That is the biggest thing. So, yeah. This will definitely help you with union voters who are at risk at going to Wallace. Johnson also reluctantly admits in secret that your speech was good, and he is pleased that you will defend his Great Society programs. All right. So that's definitely helping us a little bit. So we're really, realistically, only 1 or 2 points off of all these states. We're still at 96 electoral votes. So I will take a trip to California. So California, I'll try to get the Missouri, Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are going to be the big ones. And North Carolina, if I can actually try to pick off a southern state. But California it is. What do you have to say about the selection of Terry Sanford as your running mate? Terry Sanford is a friend of my family since he went against most Southern politicians and backed my brother in 1960. Sanford has the kind of loyalty and leadership skills needed to serve as vice president, and I'm glad he's on my ticket. I mean, that's a pretty good answer. I like that one. Terry Sanford has served his home state and will be a great asset to the Kennedy administration. Okay, that's pretty generic. Despite being from the South, Terry Sanford is a true liberal at heart. We kind of want to avoid these labels, so yeah, first one, definitely. Sanford is a fine choice for vice president. All right. At the Democratic National Convention, Southerners walked out and were led by John Connally. Oh, God, John Connally. He does not like George McGovern. After the unit rule was abolished. Do you have any comments to make about this event? I prefer not to talk about it. I will entirely blame the Southern delegates for this. We weren't going to win the South anyways, but criticizing liberal delegates could hurt me among my core supporters. That's an interesting one. Or I will admit that the liberal delegates should have been much better in how they treated Southern delegates, but I prefer to look forward and not look back at the past. We don't want to go too liberal. So, yeah, sometimes it's just best not to talk about it. This is probably for the best. All right, so we're still kind of just at the same point we were. The states aren't really budging too much. We're at 125, though. So we definitely flipped. What state did we flip? Not entirely sure what we flipped. But I think our next stop will be in Missouri. What do you think we should do in regards to the Vietnam? So we got to end this war, but we don't want to go too far and be George McGovern because that's going to be seen as just, too radical. We need to be fully committed to this war if we want to win and beat the commies. So that's kind of like, I would assume, a Richard Nixon type answer. We need to withdraw all the troops in Vietnam immediately. This war is a national disgrace, so that's a George McGovern answer. We need to stop bombing Vietnam and withdraw troops in Vietnam. I'm not going to say we should withdraw right away. First, we need to negotiate a peace settlement and ensure that all of our troops are safe. And there's our answer. This answer appeals to both your anti-war base and moderates who want a more steady withdrawal. All right. Are you satisfied with the Johnson administration's handling of the economy for the last 5 years? So, how are these states feeling? So we got Pennsylvania. They like the Great Society. Illinois kind of likes it. California kind of likes it. Washington. So, yeah. So the states we really want to win, West Virginia is liberal. So we had to be in favor of it, but not too in favor of it. So how can anyone be satisfied with this? Okay, so we definitely don't want to do that. Let's not talk about the economy. Oh, yeah, perfect answer. I'm running for president. And, this economy thing, I'm just not going to talk about it. It doesn't matter. So obviously it's going to be this one. This is a very long and drawn-out answer. While Johnson's policies in Vietnam are a disaster and improvements can be made on his economic policies, I'm satisfied with our current economic path. We can't deny that the unemployment rate is under 4% right now, and workers, particularly those in unions, enjoy high purchasing power and an ever-expanding lifestyle. Economic growth throughout Johnson's administration has been surprisingly outstanding. A second Kennedy administration would continue to manage the economy well and even improve upon it to turn the 1970s into an age of prosperity. I mean, that's pretty positive. Democrats have been managing the economy well, and voters seem to agree. While some think you're praising the Johnson administration just in hopes that Johnson doesn't try to ruin your campaign, most seem to think this is a genuine and are happy with your statement. How is Johnson going to ruin my campaign? He's super unpopular. So Washington's now in our column. California, still 6 points. We got to get Illinois. It's a must-win. And we're actually, I think that hurt us a little bit. So, back to Illinois. If I don't win Illinois, there's no win in this thing. Along with anti-war protests, there have been a growing number of protests on college campuses and in major cities where young adults demand that the minimum voting age be lowered to 18. Would you support the ratification of an amendment that would lower the minimum voting age? I mean, that's just kind of a gimme of a question. Of course, 18-year-olds should be able to vote. I don't really have a strong stance on an amendment like this. I would support a passage like this and will get this amendment passed when I'm elected. It's only fair if someone is old enough to fight and die in Vietnam at 18, then they should be also given the right to vote at 18, and you can also oppose it. So we're definitely going to support that. After you announce this, you notice young people start wearing pins that say, if I were 21, I'd vote for Kennedy. This could be good for you if you win and seek re-election in 1972, but this also helps you now since support for an amendment grows as Vietnam War rages on. How do you believe the United States should communicate with our communist adversaries such as the Soviet Union and China? Oh, so this is big and scary. We should always be looking for areas of agreement, however limited, between ourselves, the Soviet Union, and Red China. At the very least, we can implement arms treaties to avoid the threat of nuclear war. I mean, that's fine. I support a new era in U.S. communist relations. We have to be realistic and accept that communism is here to stay. Seems pretty weak, honestly, because most Americans are anti-communist. The best way to prevent future communist aggression is not through the death of 25,000 American kids in Vietnam. So that's George McGovern. So realistically, I mean, none of these answers are that good. But I mean, if we're going to be honest, like communism is never going to leave, but that's just going to hurt us. So we'll go with the first one. This answer is one that is sure to motivate your base and also open the door to modders. Really? I don't know. It looks like it just kind of hurt me a little bit. Ugh. Yeah, we're at 86 electoral votes. We're not doing that good, and the path to victory is kind of not there. It just isn't. We'll go to Michigan. Unless like Nixon has some type of big gap, it's not looking good. Oh God, here we go. What is your opinion on the legality of abortion? Would you attempt to legalize or prohibit this practice at a federal level? Oh God, it's the 1960s, so as you know, society is a lot more conservative than it is today. So, but we are a Democrat at the end of the day, so we should probably stick to our principles on this one. I support the right of women to control their reproductive destiny. This should be defended at a federal level because, yeah. We can keep the current system or we can just say it's evil. So we'll just take the standard Democrat position on that. This helps with your base, but it also helps Nixon with his base and Wallace with his base. There's no way that I could have answered that would have really helped. What do you believe is causing the massive surge in crime? What will you do during your presidency to reverse this trend? The rising amount of crime stems from poverty and the brutality of police. I will vigorously address both of these issues when I'm elected. I mean, that's a decent answer. Right now, we have a system in place that's far too soft on crime and we need law and order. So that's Richard Nixon. I believe the rising amount of crime stems from poverty. To reverse this trend, we need to improve our policing practices, prevent riots and disorder, but we must also address the underlying economic causes that spread dissatisfaction with the status quo. That's a very good answer. The massive surge of crime we're seeing is by no doubt a natural consequence of integration. Oh, God. So, yeah, we'll go with the third one. This is a good, moderate, liberal answer that appeals to your base without alienating some moderates. Yeah, it's just this 1 point. This is going to be really close. We're at 146. Okay. How's California? Like 7 points in California. We really, like, there's so many states, though, that we need to get. Like, if we could just shift this by 1 or 2 points. California, we need California. Like, I know JFK won without California, but he had the Deep South pretty much. Not the Deep South, but you know what I mean. Are you satisfied with the progress of desegregation in this country since the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964? So we don't want to go too far on this one. We need to be very aggressive in fighting racism and its effects where they exist. I support programs such as busing. That is a way to throw the election. Busing was very unpopular. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but busing was kind of in a way to forcefully integrate the schools, where you would take children and bus them to faraway schools for the, purpose of, integration. It was done with good intentions, but it was just going like way too far and inconveniencing people. The second one is George Wallace. Third one, we have achieved great strides on this issue in the past 20 years, but we still have a long way to go before we can truly realize the dream of Martin Luther King. Or, I strongly support what we have done to end the insidious practices of desegregation in the South. However, I'm worried at some of the ideas I've heard about forced integration of neighborhoods or proposed busing of students to distant schools. I don't want to do this answer, but this is the moderate one, and all these states we need to win, like Pennsylvania, Illinois, California, they're all moderate. So we have to be moderate in this situation. And no response. Okay. The 1968 debates are coming and Richard Nixon doesn't want to debate you. What? You wuss! What are you scared of? Some facetious remarks? Perhaps remembering his debates with your brother and his loss in the 1960 election. Will you choose to challenge him to one? Well, of course we are. And it's a chance question. Oh God. So, we can't flub this up. So we'll go with the middle one. Come on. Nixon refuses to debate you and everyone knows it. This will only help you. Yes! What a guy. Oh, are we going to win? Oh my God! Oh, he just threw it. But we're not winning yet. But this right now is deadlocked. And if I would have to assume in 1966, I'll look it up later, but I'll see if the Democrats would own the House at this time. Oh, he just threw. He just threw. Okay, what states do we need to get now? Or should we just run it up in the states that we currently have? But then again, like, this might seize up. So I don't want to get too confident, but we'll go to Ohio. Because Ohio has 26 electoral votes. We need 270 to win. Still not going to be enough. Like, what the heck? I guess Wisconsin as well. So we'll go to Ohio. Hopefully there's no gotcha questions. George Wallace, the famous, most say infamous governor of Alabama, is running for president. He runs as an American independent and is running on a staunchly anti-desegregation platform. He's gaining lots of support, not just from Southerners, but also from blue-collar workers in the Midwest who appeal to his populist rhetoric. This might be a big problem for you since you need these blue-collar workers to win in November. What would you say to dampen Wallace's appeal to blue-collar workers in the Midwest? So we need to remind these workers that Wallace is a segregationist and would try to end desegregation in a heartbeat if he's elected. I will give speeches everywhere where I urge every blue-collar worker in the Midwest to vote against his racist rhetoric that doesn't stand for any Midwestern values. Or we can say, we need to remind these workers that Wallace is anti-union and regressive on every economic issue of the day. I will give speeches where I directly address Wallace's candidacy and appeal to better nature of our union voters. I mean, I think that's better. We already know that Wallace is going to be, a racist. So, yeah. These speeches are well received, and many praise you for your oratorical, I cannot read that word, talents. Blue-collar workers feel inspired by your rhetoric, and this will likely help dampen Wallace's appeal to them. What is your opinion on Lyndon Johnson's new Medicare program? So Great Society is popular in these states we need to win, or moderately popular. So I can commend this piece of legislation. Already we see many Americans receiving healthcare who otherwise would have been stricken with serious or fatal conditions. Got to be very cautious. We can say it's socialist, or we can say national healthcare for all Americans. So it's a little bit too early, at least in America, to have this conversation. Now, I'm pretty sure that most countries in the 60s, 70s were going towards a national healthcare system. But it might have, like, if Jimmy Carter would have got a second term, it might have happened, but obviously it's never happened. So we'll just say that we commend it. Medicare is very popular and it's best to support it. All right, so how are we looking still? I don't want to bungle this. We're still at 2:30, so we're kind of stuck right now. So we gotta kind of have to chip away. Okay, it's California we need to get. Okay, I see how it is. If we can chip away at California, then we got this in the bag. In 1966, the Black Panthers were formed. They advocate for black power and have been very controversial lately. How do you feel about them? So obviously we want to be against this. Black Panthers are a radical group of militants and communists, so that's going a little bit too far. I support the Black Panthers, and we don't want to do that because you're going to have those women at home that are going to be like, oh my God, you know what RFK just said? So yeah, I support desegregation and oppose racism in all its forms, but the Black Panthers have done more harm than good. All right. This is probably for the best, even if you turned off some voters who support groups like this with your stance. J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI, has all the secrets on Jack Kennedy's affairs and your role in it. What will you do to attempt to dissuade him from doing anything? He wouldn't be foolish enough to even dare release anything. Don't trust anybody. We'll make it clear to him we know what he's been doing with his associate. Hoover agrees not to release all the damaging info in exchange for you keeping information about his double life out of the press. Oh no. So Nixon's, what, that hurt us? How'd that hurt us? What, do I need to support the Black Panthers? Okay, so we still got a ways to go, so yeah. This is going to be difficult. Let's go to Washington. What do you think of programs that require schools to use busing to achieve racial balance? Oh, God. Busing is a conspiracy to mongrelize the... Okay, we don't want to do that. I believe we can find ways to minimize forced busing while also remaining true to the nation's ideals and our educational goals. I mean, I think that's pretty good. This is a necessary step to enforce the Brown decision and uphold the ideals of America. Or I do agree with the idea that education is a local matter. I'm not opposed to busing where local authorities deem it necessary, but I would only use the federal government in extraordinary circumstances. Huh. I honestly think that, 2 or 4 is going to be good, but like this is a very, very unpopular policy. So we should minimize it. This is a good answer that helps you enjoy broad appeal. Just make sure you aren't too broad with the issues. I hope I'm not throwing this. Election day is just a few months away. What specific states and voting groups would you like to target in the next few weeks while campaigning? So how are we looking? If we just got a little bit of an extra boost here, that could help. But California is within grasp. So I think what would be best is, because normally these, I don't think we're going to win Ohio. I really don't. But California, that's what we need. So we need to go to California. So we can do the Northeast, which we got a lock on. The Midwest. So let's campaign all across the Southwest, especially in Texas and California near the southern border, to energize our Hispanic base and see high turnout in the region. Texas? I'd rather just go on the West Coast, honestly. Because like these other states, JFK won Nevada, but Texas is within 3 points though. So we'll try it, but I don't know, maybe I should do this one, but we'll see. Viva Kennedy! You hear people all across the Southwest say once again, this should help you greatly in states like California, New Mexico, Nevada, and Texas, even if Hispanic voters are still a minority in these states. Oh God, it didn't do anything! It hurt! Oh, you gotta be kidding! Really? Oh. Well, that wasn't good to do. Damn. Well, yeah, we sure went to the Midwest. We'll go to Missouri. And we're kind of running out of time now. Do you hope to achieve an arms control agreement with the Soviet Union during your time in the Oval Office? What conditions would you agree to? We can say it's not worth the paper it's signed on. My goal is a world without nuclear weapons. Good luck. I will definitely work towards the control of nuclear weapons as president. I sincerely hope we can work out a reasonable agreement on this issue, or I would be open-minded about this issue without a clear goal of good faith backed by concrete action. I have a hard time believing that the Soviet Union will come around to arms control. That's being realistic with the situation, so we'll do that one. Some have suggested sending more troops to Vietnam, but have also suggested sending troops to neighboring Laos and Cambodia to more aggressively combat the flow of communist troops into South Vietnam. Would you consider doing this if elected? Realistically, as RFK, there's only one option we can do, and just be against escalation. Because I can't believe I haven't done this yet, and then we have the George McGovern answer. Not promising to escalate in Vietnam is a no-brainer. This response should help you among a wider variety of voters. I sure hope it does. So we're winning Missouri, which is nice. We're winning Illinois. We're even winning North Carolina. We need to get West Virginia. So we're at 201. Yeah, it's looking tough. Because without any support on the West, and it is slipping. I'm going to go to West Virginia and try and get that in our column. New Jersey. You know what? New Jersey is worth more electoral votes, so we'll go there. George Wallace's running mate, Curtis LeMay, has constantly been criticizing you on the campaign trail over your actions during the Cuban Missile Crisis. What would you say in response to this? So I remember in the 1968 one, I didn't pick LeMay because it said he's prone to make off-the-cuff remarks. So, yeah, I don't think this is really worth addressing. It might be better to just let LeMay run his mouth and sink Wallace's campaign into the gutter. So, yeah, I think that's probably best. Or we can just call him out, but sometimes like calling out third parties is just, even though a third party is strong as Wallace, it's just kind of, punching down. So we'll just go with the first one. Good idea. Most voters remember your book about the crisis and also remember LeMay's suggestions to end the crisis. Both of these things help you and hurt Wallace in the polls. I sure hope it does. What is your stance on the 6-Day War that occurred last year, and how should Israel handle new territories it has taken possession of? So, as you see down there, it is the 10th of July, and just recently we had the quote-unquote 12-Day War, which is kind of ironic. So a lot of these issues, honestly, from 1968, we are still kind of dealing with similar things now. Is anyone talking about foreign policy at all? We're back to 230, but that's always kind of misleading. It's so close. Man. There's nothing about foreign policy except for Vietnam. So going off of that, like, do we really want to get involved in this? So Israel has the right to these territories they now occupy, or I fully support Israel's right to defend itself. This business in Israel is no business of America. I mean, at this point, people want to be non-interventionists. As president, I'm confident that all sides can come together. Okay, that's wishful thinking. We'll be isolationist. Not many positions on this issue can hurt you, but unfortunately this one, oh God, this is one of the ones that can. Not only is this out of mainstream, but you lose lots of support from Jewish voters. I don't know what Zionism, how popular that was in the 60s. Maybe it was even more popular. But actually, it didn't do anything. Okay, so we're at 230. So how are we looking? 1 point in Wisconsin, 2 points. We can win this. We can 100% win this. So, man. So 26 plus 12, I'm not good at math, is 38. That's not going to be enough. But the 40 is going to put us right on the cusp of winning the election. So we 100% need to focus on California. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. Okay. So we already proven that going to Texas, it says right here, given that you don't typically poll well in the South and Lyndon Johnson, who hates your guts, is from Texas, gives you a big disadvantage in seemingly crucial state for this election. Since no Democrat has won the White House without Texas, will you campaign or send people to campaign in the state at all to fight against your disadvantage in the Johnson machine? So sending anything to Texas hurt me a lot last time, so probably don't want to do that. We need Texas if we're going to win this election, so let's campaign in Dallas and Houston and throw as many resources as we can to help fight us in our disadvantage. What are we looking at in Texas? We're not getting Texas. It's 5 points. We cannot make that up. We don't even need Texas to win this election. Johnson will do everything in his power to prevent me from winning this state. So I think our resources are better spent in states like California. Hell yeah, you said it right. This answer is fine, but it might be hard to pull off victories in states like Nixon's home state of California. You also basically lost Texas with this answer. Oh, God. I'm getting nervous because we're close. We can win this thing. Do we need more spending in the war on poverty, especially in the light of riots since 1965? Okay. I support the war on poverty as it stands. We passed a lot of new initiatives, and we should wait to see what effect they have. To me, cracking down on law and order issues is more important. We are the greatest nation on earth, and we cannot rest until every citizen has an opportunity to share that prosperity. We need to focus less on handouts, and more encouraging initiative among our Black and ethnic business owners. They will build prosperity in inner cities. I will analyze the war on poverty on a program-by-program basis and cut those which are unnecessary. So that seems like a pretty moderate to conservative answer on that. The law and order, these seem like Richard Nixon answers. And again, this is George Wallace. So is this too ambitious though? But okay, we'll go with that one. This is the kind of ambitious answer that motivates your Democratic base and one most Americans want to hear. Just prepare to lose a few conservative votes you have. Yeah. So how are we looking? Nevada, we're within 1 point. We got Missouri, we got Illinois. But, bro, I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't. If I had these two states, it would have been good, but it's the last question, so I don't know if we can pull this off or not. We'll go to California. After peace negotiations in North Vietnam collapsed, Lyndon Johnson was originally going to announce that bombing would continue in North Vietnam to hurt your campaign. But after lots of pressure and threats, he has since gone back on that and announced that he will halt in the bombing of North Vietnam. This will likely help you in the polls. Great! This will help you in the polls slightly, much to Lyndon Johnson's annoyance. Does he want us to lose? Well, obviously he wants us to lose, but do you want Richard Nixon? Like, really? Where would you like to visit in the weeks before the election? So obviously, I think if we're looking at this realistically, we have as much as we're going to get in the Midwest. We have the Northeast on lock except for Maine, which Humphrey did win. We got some 2-point leads. I don't think these leads are going to go. We need to go in the West. We have to. We are close in the West. Like, we can win this. We can legit win this. Yeah, the primary shown I do well with West Coast voters, so I want to travel across the West Coast from California to Washington to campaign in large cities like Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle. This is what I want. Good luck, Senator Kennedy. You'll need it. Hopefully you can pull off a win. For now, just sit back and watch the returns come in, even if it takes hours for the states to be called. So this is going to be close. But if Nixon pulls off California, it's going to come down to California. It is. But if I lose like any of these big states like Pennsylvania, Illinois, or Washington, well, not Washington, sorry, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and this is taking a while to come in too. So we got our first two states. Yeah, this is going to be pretty intense. If we can pull off an upset in California, then we got it. But it's going to come down to the wire. Yeah. So right now we're in third place. Come on. Come on, RFK. We can do this. We can do this. So all these conservative states are coming in. Oh, man, Nixon's running away with it now. But none of the swing states have come in yet, so... Okay, oh my God, that filled in. So we got some swing states. Okay, so we're outpacing Hubert Humphrey. Okay, so we got Illinois. We're looking good, actually. Come on. We got Missouri. We're in the lead. We're in the lead. But California is going to be that anchor state. Oh, we got Michigan. We don't got Wisconsin. So it's going to come down to California. Come on, California. Come on. Come on, California. Oh, my God. Come on. This is taking a while. We got Washington. It's coming down to California. Come on, California. You can do it. No! Oh! You gotta be kidding. It's deadlocked. Wow. I have never seen that before. How close was California? He had 1%. Are you kidding? Sorry for yelling that. I thought legitimately we could have won this. So we are 30 electoral votes off. But I'm going to look at the makeup of the House. But let's go to the final results. Wow, no candidate achieved a majority in the Electoral College, so for the first time ever. In a chaotic twist befitting of the year of the hot, long summer, you didn't receive a majority in the Electoral College, but neither did Nixon. This means that Wallace's plan to deadlock the Electoral College have succeeded, which makes most folks unhappy. Oh, God. The African-American community has begun rioting again at the thought of the 1964 Civil Rights Act being overturned, sending cities up in smoke. Lyndon Johnson is furious at you for doing badly enough to put his Great Society programs in jeopardy, and George Wallace walks to Congress with a satisfied smirk on his face. Fortunately for you, the Democrats currently hold a majority in the House of Representatives. Yes, we won then. We won. But not resoundingly. So obviously we don't have a mandate in any way. We won the popular vote, according to this. So we have a little bit of a mandate. A little bit more people wanted me, but yeah, anyway. So theoretically, you should come out as a likely winner. However, there's also the probability that the segregations in the South will throw their support behind Wallace, so you may need to make some sort of major concession to Nixon and the Republicans to get elected. Either way, let's hope this situation gets sorted soon, or this country will go down in flames. So yeah, let's do the results by state. Closest state. Nevada, and Nixon won Nevada. It came down to California. California, how dare you? Nixon won Delaware. California. So 0.9 he won it by. So this election came down to about 60,000 votes. It's pretty close. I got Missouri, North Carolina, New Jersey. He got Richard Nixon got Maine. Hubert Humphrey got that in the actual election. West Virginia, Arkansas. Yeah. So we look at this election map. I was close, but theoretically, though, we have a President RFK. Now, we've changed history. We got a deadlock in the Electoral College. So, if we had to, make a hypothesis, Kennedy would come in there. It would be very awkward. That's what would happen. He'd have to be a moderate, but who knows? Maybe he would try to continue some of these liberal programs, but race relations may go back a lot because of this. But anyway, this was a very interesting result. I thought I had this, but turns out I didn't win. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and more videos coming soon.